register and share transfer agent of your company. The following documents are available for inspection by the members at the website of KFin Technologies Private Limited upon login at emeetings.kfintech.com. Number 1. Register of directors and key managerial personnel and their shareholding. 2. Register of contracts in which directors are interested. 3. Auditor's report. 4. Certificate from statutory auditors stating that employee stock option scheme of the company has been implemented in accordance with the SEBI regulations. As this AGM is being held through video conferencing, the facility for appointment of proxies by the members was not applicable. The company has received requests from a few members to register them as speakers at the AGM. Accordingly, the floor will be open for those members to ask questions or express their views. The speakers are requested to take a maximum of 3 minutes each so as to allow time for other speakers. The moderator will facilitate this session once the chairman opens the floor for questions. The members can also post their views or questions on the Ask a Question tab on their video conference screen before 3 p.m. The members may please note that the company reserves the right to limit the number of questions depending on the availability of time at the AGM. The members are requested to refer to the instructions provided in the notice or appearing on the video conferencing page for a seamless participation through video conference. If any member faces any issue during the AGM, he will contact KFin Technologies Private Limited at toll-free number given in the notice. Over to Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sanjay. Dear shareholders, on behalf of the Board of Directors and on my own behalf, I have great pleasure in welcoming all of you to the 18th Annual General Meeting of your company. All of us have been through trying times on account of the pandemic that continues to cause concern. I hope that you and your family members have remained safe and healthy in the face of this challenge. It is with a deep feeling of distress that I have to inform you of the loss of some of our colleagues, including a few in our subsidiary Agile, on account of COVID. May I request that we observe a minute's silence to remember them.
Hello, where's the audio?
Thank you. It is always a pleasure to interact with you on the occasion of the annual general meeting, which is a celebration of shareholder support to the company. When we met this time last year, many of us had hoped and even expected that a year down the line, we would be back to having physical meetings. That hope has been belied. And for the second year in succession, we have had to make do with a virtual version of the annual general meeting. I am hopeful that the next annual general meeting will be an occasion when you will get to personally interact with your directors and the senior management of the company. The financial year gone by has been an eminently forgettable year, with lockdowns impacting on the economy and also on social interaction. The way in which we think and live has undergone a significant change. The first wave of COVID-19 led to a countrywide lockdown and to several state lockdowns, severely impacting the aviation industry. As the number of cases started reducing, there was some pickup in the number of air travelers. February 2021 saw the airline reach a peak load of 44.29 lakh passengers. However, the intensity of the second wave of COVID-19, resulting in an unprecedented health crisis, saw the number of passengers declining rapidly. The strength of institutions and individuals is best tested when the challenge is unanticipated and overwhelming. As you must have noticed, the resilience of your company and the ability of its workforce to stand up and deliver in these trying times ensured that we kept the operations going. In the process, your company has become leaner, more resilient, and more nimble. Recent economic indicators point to the possibility of a sustained upturn in the Indian economy. For aviation, this is a long-delayed and welcome sign. With a larger number of persons having been vaccinated and more persons are opting for air travel as compared to the position that prevailed in the preceding few months. While there is reason to hope that the future will be better than the immediate past, we cannot lose sight of the fact that COVID-19 induced restrictions, as well as the hesitancy on the part of travelers, led to our posting our highest ever loss in the history of the company in FY 2021. The first quarter of the current financial year has also been adversely impacted on account of the second wave of COVID-19. With the restrictions imposed on domestic air travel being relaxed in phases, we are seeing an uptick in the number of passengers. The pandemic has also led to a number of restrictions impacting on international travel, and we hope that this situation will also improve in the coming months. An integrated, well-planned approach towards environment, social and governance, or ESG, as it is known, is becoming increasingly vital for large companies like ours, as investors are seeking increased information and seeing increased value in the non-financial reporting and robust corporate governance practices of a company. As a socially responsible airline, we are deeply concerned about preservation of natural resources, the phenomenon of climate change, and the importance of sustainability for future generations. With these objectives in mind, we recently launched our first ESG report to document IndiGo's initiatives in the ESG space. We are acutely aware that as a responsible corporate citizen, we must do more than our bit to protect and preserve the planet. I feel privileged to be the chairperson of the board of an organization comprising enthusiastic and highly motivated employees who have stood together in these difficult times, made sacrifices, and worked tirelessly to provide reliable and safe air travel across the country and to locations abroad. I am convinced that IndiGo is a great national asset which will continue to contribute significantly to the economic development of the country by providing an extensive airline network accessible to the general public at affordable prices. Before I conclude, let me take this opportunity to thank all our employees who have worked ceaselessly to ensure that we provide our customers courteous, hassle-free service. Most importantly, I would like to thank you, dear shareholders, for your overwhelming trust, support, and confidence in IndiGo. Our customers are the reason we exist, and our shareholder community is the most important pillar of our existence. I also wish to thank my colleagues on the board for supporting, encouraging, and guiding management in these trying times. Now let me invite our whole-time director and CEO, Pranajoy Datta, to share with you information regarding our performance and the steps which have been taken and continue to be taken to make our company soar safely and successfully to greater heights. Thank you. Over to you, Rono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dear valued shareholders, thank you for joining us today. We hope all of you are well and safe. It is unfortunate that this year also, we must conduct our annual general meeting digitally instead of in person. I sincerely hope that we return to normalcy soon. 2021 was a turbulent year because of two successive waves of the pandemic. In March 2020, we entered a total lockdown, and after June, we experienced some improvement in both COVID cases and traffic, but ended March 2021 with an even more severe second COVID-19 wave. All in all, it was an extraordinarily challenging year for our customers, our employees, our shareholders, and the communities we serve. We are disappointed with the financial performance for the financial year 2021, as we posted an annual loss of 58.1 billion rupees. Given the lack of profitability, our board of directors have not recommended any dividend. Over the last 18 months, we conducted an in-depth analysis of our objectives, our practices, and our processes in response to the pandemic. The most important objective we set for ourselves was to emerge stronger out of this crisis. We were determined to improve our customer service at every touch point, introducing a high level of digitization as well as contactless travel. The health and safety of our customers and our employees was foremost in our minds. And we worked with the Ministry of Civil Aviation to establish standard operating procedures for social distancing. On the operational front, I'm pleased to report that our Net Promoter Score remained higher than pre-COVID levels. We were number one on OTP for the last 4 quarters, and we had a complaint rate of 0.1 per 10,000 passengers, which is the lowest by far in the industry. Even as we were forced to institute painful layoffs and pay cuts, our communications went into hyperdrive, explaining our actions every step of the way in a transparent manner. We believe these actions have been an important driver behind the increased customer loyalty and employee commitment we have witnessed throughout the pandemic. In this context, I'm happy to report that we have been honored as a great place to work. Remaining disciplined with our cost structure is key to our success. And during the year, significant actions were taken to enhance IndiGo's cost leadership, ensure liquidity, and reduce cash burn. As a result of our efforts, we reduced our net cash burn by almost 50% at the end of June 20 versus December 20, quarter average, right before the second wave of COVID hit us. We generated additional liquidity of 66 billion rupees in fiscal 2021 and announced additional 55 billion rupees for fiscal year 2022. We continue to work with our lenders and partners to enhance this liquidity even further. One of the most crucial elements of our success is, of course, our fleet. And we are rapidly replacing our old CEO aircraft with fuel-efficient NEO aircraft. On 30th June 21, NEO engines form 66% of our Airbus fleet. With regards to our network, We complied with all the regulatory capacity restrictions and yet maximized revenue through network optimization. We were able to capitalize on the emerging traffic opportunities in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Our cargo line of business has really supported us during these times when our passenger services have been severely impacted. Building on this success, we have initiated a freighter program. We're in the process of sourcing aircraft which will be converted to full freighter configuration starting in 2022. After the first wave of COVID-19, we experienced a V-shaped recovery and reached around 80% of our pre-COVID domestic capacity levels in February 2021. Now, after the second wave, we are again seeing a gradual recovery in demand. And in August, we have reached a peak of around 1050 flights per day, as against a low of 320 daily flights in the first quarter of 2022. This is quite encouraging for us, and we are eager to add even more capacity back into the market. Though the past year has been difficult, our vision is firmly rooted on the long term, and we are not willing to be distracted by the trials and vicissitudes caused by the pandemic. The fundamentals of our business model, low cost, on-time performance, hassle-free courteous service, coupled with rapid expansion, remain intact and as robust as ever. We are blessed with the enormous prospects of an increasing income level in the country, and with many first-time flyers continuously expanding our customer base. I'm very thankful to our customers and to our shareholders for their continued support and confidence in us through these difficult times. Now let me revert back to our chairman to further proceed with the AGM. Thank you.
Thank you, Rono. As there are no qualifications or adverse remarks in the auditor's report, I shall take the report as read. Since the notice of AGM has been circulated to all the members, along with the annual report for FY 2020-21, the same may be taken as read. Your company has proposed the following items as set out in the notice for your approval. Item 1, to consider and adopt the audited standalone financial statements of the company for the financial year ended March 31, 2021, along with the reports of the Board of Directors and the auditors thereon, and the audited consolidated financial statements of the company for the financial year ended March 31, 2021, along with the report of the auditors thereon. Item 2, to reappoint Mr. Rakesh Gangwal as a director who retires by rotation and being eligible offers himself for reappointment. Item 3, to appoint Mr. Greg Albert Seretsky as a non-executive director of the company. Dear members, the moderator will announce one by one the names of the members who have registered themselves as speakers. The members are requested to keep their questions brief and specific and limit their queries to a maximum of 3 minutes. The answers to all the questions will be provided at the end. Any queries that have not been addressed will be responded to by the company by email. With that, I hand you over to the moderator to invite the speakers to ask the questions and to make their points. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members. I will be calling all the speakers one by one. I request the speaker to ensure they use earphones or headphones for better sound quality. And please avoid any background sound to be heard properly. I request our first speaker, Mr. Mustafa Khedwala, to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam, and ask your question.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Sir, you are audible. Kindly proceed with your question.
Yeah. Firstly, my compliments and heartfelt gratitude to the entire 25,000 strong IndiGo family for keeping India's air travel on the go even in these most troubled times. I have two questions. What percentage of our total revenue flows through our own app or website? Can it ever reach Ryanair levels? The second question is, if these rigid government pricing caps and floors were to stay, how much longer will it take air travel in India to reach pre-pandemic levels in our assessment? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mustafa. We will proceed with our next speaker. I request Mr. Yashpal Chopra to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and speak.
Hello.
Hello, sir, you're audible. Kindly proceed with your question. Thank you.
Honorable Chairman, sir. To begin with, I just tell you myself, Yashpal Chopra, calling from Delhi. Actually, I have been associated with this company since the investors conference at the time of IPO, when the very extensive presentation was made. Before that, the impression was in the mind of most of the investors that the aviation industry is a junk industry that will never produce any positive results. But after this presentation and all that, even then we were doubtful. But anyhow, we applied, we were allotted share, and we watched the performance, and finally we just came to a conclusion that the meeting, the company is very much in the hands of professional people, and the company was in a position to deliver the results. So, sir, the share market is the barometer of the strength of the company and the project. And since the day of the allotment and the listing of the company and all that, our share has been up and up and up only. But last year, because of the cruel COVID, the performance of the company was actually nil, because there was no movement. The total global economy was at a standstill. So, as the economy was at a standstill, so there was no commuter. So, even our planes were at standstill. So that is why, for those results, for that performance, I cannot blame the company, because that was because of the natural calamity and all that. But sir, now the government has given some relaxation, and there is a relaxation even in the COVID, and now the people have learned that how to live with the COVID, and that they know that the economy has to go along with the COVID, and so the people are made to understand the importance of protocol. So I think that the coming times are really very, 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 very bright, and the performance for the current year will definitely should be very good. But sir, at the same time, I see that there are so many hurdles. Sometimes there is an increase in the fuel cost. Sometimes there is a restriction by the government that now you cannot take your flights to the foreign countries and all that. So I do not understand that how long we will have to go for that. So my query is that is my observation. How you agree with my observation, and what are the positive performance in your mind that I would just like to understand. Sir, the next thing is that the company is in the need of the blessing from the valuation, blessing from the shareholders, blessing for the investors, and so the company must consider on that account also, because the blessings have got the atomic power. So I think only with those powers, with those things, those blessings, your company can be out of the rut. So, but share market is very much positive, and we are also positive because of your potency, your practical handling of the show. So best of luck to you, and best of luck to everybody from top to the bottom. And I will compliment the company secretary for getting me a chance to speak. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Yashpal Chopra. We'll go with our next speaker. I request Mr. Abhishek Jain to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and speak. Mr. Abhishek, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. We are not receiving any response. We'll move on to our next speaker. I request Mr. Santosh Bhutani to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello. Sir, you're audible. Kindly proceed with your question. Thank you.
Yes. Respected Chairman, sir, Board member and management team, thanks for giving me an opportunity in this platform. Firstly, I would like to thank the Company Secretary for sending the report well in time, and I appreciate their efforts, their team efforts for giving the vast information in the report and allowing me to speak in this platform. So my question is, what is your strategy on the challenges due to the impact of the pandemic situation of second wave of COVID-19 and also the fear of third wave? Sir, how have we readied ourselves for any similar situation in the future? Because we know the pandemic is much impacted our core business and traveling is almost banned. So what step company is taking to settle the issues and how they are handling the entire challenges? Sir, I want to know your comments on few points. Number one, business continuity. Number two, technology readiness and future steps on the capital improvement and quality, and company steps towards creating a new age business model. Sir, there is a Vivad Se Vishwas scheme was launched last year to settle the pending disputes. Indication are there that this scheme has been a good success. I want to know your comments. Is this scheme is useful for our company? Sir, I would be appreciate if you could briefly reply, and I wish all the best and hope to see a healthy growth in coming time. Chairman, sir, we know the board is very competent to handle all these situations and doing best for employee safety as well as the interest of the stakeholders. Under your team, Chairman, sir, and Rahul ji, I am from Delhi, and I hope in coming time definitely our company will be in the right path and achieve all the target which has been set by your team. Thank you very much, Chairman, sir, for allowing me in this platform, and the scheduled team and all the employees who devoted their duty during this pandemic time. And I hope the situation will be improved and everything will be on the pre level of the COVID position. Thank you, Chairman, sir, and all the best to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bhutani. I request our next speaker, Ms. Reena Jain. We request you to come.
Hello.
Madam, आप सुनाई दे रहे हैं?
नमस्कार चेयरमैन सर, मैं रीना जैन दिल्ली से बोल रही हूँ। कंपनी की एनुअल रिपोर्ट के माध्यम से जो भी मेरा लेखा जोखा जो भी आपने पेश किया, वह पूरी तरह से समझ में आ गया। मेरे मन में जो भी प्रश्न थे वह अध्यक्ष जी ने अपने भाषण में उनका उत्तर दे दिया है। इस महामारी के कारण कंपनी ने अपने शेयर प्राइस को भी लगभग बनाए रखा। यह कंपनी की वित्त स्थिति को मजबूत दिखाता है। इसके लिए आपका धन्यवाद। कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ने भी मुझे एक इस सभा में भाग लेने में मेरी काफी मदद की। उनका भी तहे दिल से धन्यवाद। सर, आखिर में एक निवेदन है कि जो इंडिगो कंसेशन फेयर ऑफर करती है, परंतु हमें कभी टिकट नहीं मिल पाती। यदि चेयरमैन साहब एक बार ऐसी व्यवस्था कर दें तो हमें भी हवाई जहाज में उड़ने का मौका मिल जाए। सर, इस पे गौर करेंगे, हमें भी उड़ा दीजिए, एक बार प्लेन में बैठा दीजिए। थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, madam. I request our next speaker, Mr. Muralidhar. We request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Muralidhar, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. So no response received. I request Ms. Vasudha Vikas Dhakwe to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Ms. Vasudha Vikas Dhakwe, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, madam. Your audio.
Very
proceed with your question. Thank you.
very good afternoon, respected Chairman sir, Board of Directors, and my fellow shareholders. Myself, Vasudha from Thane. I would like to congratulate our company secretary for sending me the soft copy of the report well in advance, which itself is clear and transparent. I would like to ask, what is the impact of COVID-19 on our current employees, those who are working from home as well as those who are coming in office? What is the steps you have taken for the benefits of them? Secondly, on page number 102 and 222, can you please throw some lights on our bad debts return? With this, I support all the resolutions and thank you very much for coming, for giving me opportunity to speak. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. I request our next speaker, Mr. Kirti Shah, to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Kirti Shah, we request you to kindly ask your question. So no response received. I request Mr. Ankur Chanda to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Ankur, we request you to kindly proceed with your question. So not receiving any response, I request our next speaker, Ms. C.E. Mascarenhas. We request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, madam, you are audible. Kindly proceed with your question.
Without that fan. I am audible, no, ma'am?
Yes, madam, you are audible.
Respected Chairman, Mr. M. Damodaran, CEO Ranojoy Dutta, other honorable directors in the virtual meet, my fellow shareholders, my name is Mrs. C.E. Mascarenhas. I am attending from Mumbai. First of all, I thank the company secretary Sanjay Gupta and his team for sending me e-notice. I am very much grateful to the K-Fintech platform which has registered me as a speaker and also given me this platform to speak. Once again, I say a big thanks in this virtual time, in this COVID times. Thank you so much. Now I go to the annual report. It is a good document, well documented and self-explanatory. But the year has been with the loss thanks to the COVID. Nothing can be done when the flights were all stopped. So we cannot expect anything of this year. Next year we don't know, inshallah. I congratulate for the awards and accolades. Especially, we are the third most punctual airline in the world. I am very happy with that. Also, I appreciate the CSR work which was done in the lockdown days and even now by the staff and other members, which is really appreciated by me, and God will definitely bless our airline and it will perform well in the years to come. What I really very happy is 14.1% are lady pilots, highest percent of the women pilots in. I being a lady, I am very, very happy with this. This is an airline which is giving more scope for the lady people. Now my query is, sir, what is the capex for the next 2 years? How many aircrafts to be purchased? That is one. Then how many, how many were affected by COVID? How many have recovered? And how many fatalities are there? And vaccination level. 3. What is the capex for the next 2 years? How many aircrafts we are to purchase? How much margin we got in the repatriation in the lockdown time, repatriation flight, charter flights and the cargo flights. Next is we have 285 aircrafts as on March 31, 21. So how many added last 3 months? We have a defined whistleblowing policy. Any sort of frauds or any miscreants, anything is detected under this whistleblowing, and especially by the staff and the agents. So lastly is what is the roadmap for the next 3 years, especially with the COVID, and what lessons we have learned from the COVID and how to handle the COVID atmosphere. I have supported all the resolutions. I wish the company all the best. I wish, sir, you and your team, IndiGo team, very good health so that you can be performer, maybe not this year, maybe next year or year after that, once the COVID is disappeared and we forget about the COVID. So I am wishing the best and may God bless this airline. And one more request, sir, I would like some discount as a shareholder. We don't get dividend, no? So please do consider, because we may have to go to our hometown, and I being a senior citizen, I think I am just waiting when Air India will give, I have to go to my native place. So please, sir, you give some senior citizens some discount, because most hit is the senior citizen in these this time of all this COVID times. So with this, I thank you very much for giving me this platform to speak. Thank you once again.
Thank you, madam. I request our next speaker, Mr. Hiranand Kotwani, to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Hiranand Kotwani from Kalyan. Convey my good wishes to all the people who are attending this meeting. Respected Chairman, Mr. Damodaran. It is a great pleasure to see Rakesh and Bhatia. Your concern is our concern. I appreciate your presence. Gentlemen, what is the protection we need from the government, state authorities? Is there any representation for that? Because aviation industry is trouble industry. We are huge losses. And unless and until a state is not providing protection, the facilities, this industry will be in trouble. Though they are one child, one baby, but at least for the nation's sake, for the national and the development, we should be protected and respected, particularly given the concession from state authorities. Another thing is, how is our capacity utilization? And can we expand in hospitality added value product, particularly our name brand, IndiGo tea, IndiGo coffee, IndiGo water, mineral water for the drinking hospital industry? Because we have to expand, no other alternative to establish and survive. Because globally we've seen the aviation industry become a trouble. If the diversification activity will be there, there will be some protection. Is there any sacrifice from employee and management in this period? Particularly sacrifice, I know I want this particular managerial payment, some allowances and all these things. Because survival of organization is important. At this time, we should sacrifice, as we are sacrificing dividend for the future of this organization. Any capital restructure is progress. Any capital restructure, because once we face the loss, we have to restructure the equity, adjust the premium or any other mode. When there is a good time, we come out with the right issue, bonuses and the dividend. What is your vision and mission in this regard? Mr. Damodar, you are expert in that. And your team is also good. I convey my good wishes to all of your teammates. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Hiranand. I request our next speaker, Mr. Vikas Chandrakant Thakwe, to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Vikas Chandrakant Thakwe, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. No response received. I'll proceed with our next speaker, Mr. Narendra Singh Chauhan. We request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Narendra Singh Chauhan, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. So no response received. I request our next speaker, Ms. Promila Bhatia, to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question.
Good afternoon and the board members as to the locations, because also as we all know that the cargo is doing well.
So your voice is cracking.
Passenger business. Again, in that case, is it fine now? Is it better?
Yes, yes, sir. It is better now. Kindly proceed.
I'm saying, as we know that the cargo business is doing well worldwide in comparison to the passenger business. So, what is the roadmap for expansion in this case? Because as per IATA, we don't see any significant improvement in passenger traffic till, I think, couple of years, till 2024. They have predicted that traffic won't return to pre-COVID level. So we need to expand in other areas. So I think cargo is one area where we should expand. And our international business has been severely impacted because of COVID. So what is the roadmap ahead when it comes to international business? Are we planning for some acquisition to expand the international business? Secondly, for 2 years, I can understand that we are incurring losses. Dividend has not been paid. So any plans to reward the shareholder by means of any bonus, anything else, or probably giving them some discounted tickets as so many members have requested? One thing more I would like to say is several employees, the salary was cut. So have we restored the salaries? Because as per my understanding, happy employees make happy company. So if employees are not happy, we don't see future for the company. And one more important thing, Rakesh Junjunwala is coming up with ultra low cost carrier. And Aditya Ghosh has also joined them. So how we are planning to counter that? Thanks. That's all from my end.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatia. I request our next speaker, Mr. A.V. Mani Sundaram. We request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Of that kind. Mr. Mani Sundaram, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. No response received. We'll move on to the speakers whom we missed. I request Mr. Abhishek to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question.
Yes, hear me, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Kindly proceed with your question.
So my name is Abhishek, shareholder of the company. My DPID is 037 and client ID is 413591. Congratulate the management on the eve of annual general report. With you and your family in this challenging situation, it's much more respect than the current market cap after completing a decade of successful operations, profitable history. Sir, I would like to know how the business has been impacted in these past 2 years of this COVID. Where you see the light in the end of the tunnel, will we prosper in the years to come? The coronavirus and the subsequent left virtually no industry untouched after the pandemic. So any employees we have sacked, hired, in percentage, if any, in the COVID time, I would like to know cutting initiatives done by the management and whether any taken by the management during the pandemic time, and what is the view of the management, sir, going forward and growth for the next challenging in the coming quarters, and efforts to improve the working capital sales ratio, ROC ratio, sir. And I do regret that during this particular year, I understand that because of the pandemic, the management declare the dividend to the minority investor, but in the years to come, be in a position to declare his special investor fraternity. And sir, I would request our management on quarterly presentation and meeting with global investor basis. And sir, what are the management efforts to reduce the charges and the audit fees? So myself and my team are running a legal firm in Chennai. So I would request your good selves to kindly on the empowerment of the company, and we'll be glad to extend our services. Sir, last year also, but it is not be considered because of the pandemic time. I will not put the pressure on the company, and I would request your good selves to the legal team so that I can share my credentials with them. And related to dividend in our company, sir, I would like to know from you, sir. Citizens are only dependent on that. And in the KFIN portal, where we get annual general body meeting and where we exercise our reward, the inspection of documents like register of members, register of contract, if any, and it has to be updated for the updated. So I would request your to kindly update the same for the members, sir. And nothing much to ask, sir. I wish the company a great success and prosperity in the coming future. Thank you for sir. Mani Sundaram is facing some technical problems, sir. Opportunity once more, it will be better, sir, but if it's able to join, otherwise I'll questions through emails. Thank you very much, sir. Nothing much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. I request our next speaker, Mr. Ramesh Shankar Gola, to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Ramesh Shankar Gola, we request you to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. So no response received. I request Mr. Ankur Chanda to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam and ask your question. Mr. Ankur Chanda, we request you to kindly ask your question. Mr. Ankur Chanda, we are not receiving the audio feed from your side. We request you to kindly refresh and join us back. I request our next speaker, Mr. Alyush Peter Mascarenas, to kindly unmute your audio. Mr. Mascarenas?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir,
Hello.
you're audible. You're audible, sir. Kindly proceed with your question.
Yeah. Okay. Respected members of the board and fellow shareholders. Good evening, My name is Aloysian Mascarenes. At the outset, I thank the management of our company secretary and the registrars for sending me the e-annual report, which I received on. It is illustrative, informative, transparent, and above adhering to all the parameters required for a good corporate governance. Our results are not good, but taking consideration the pandemic that we are facing nowadays, we are doing pretty well. Now my questions, sir, in this airline India is not doing well. Then what are our future plans? We have only used in India and abroad. I'm going to expand others, especially abroad, and our promoters are very rich, but others, we can find Gangwal, we can finance our airline and also take over the airlines like Jet Airways and other airlines. Junjun can take an airline. Why not our Bhatia and other Gangwal? I would like to know. And more importantly, I'm a senior citizen. That the discount will be given. Yeah, I would like our also give at least some down to senior citizen shareholders. This, sir, I end my speech. Thank you personally, all the board members. I know Mr. Damodaran from Unit Trust of India. He brought Unit Trust of India to very high level. So I hope and pray that Mr. Damodaran make this forward. With this, sir, I thank you very much, all the members, and more importantly, all employees, all the very best in the days to come. This, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I request Mr. Ankur Chanda to kindly unmute your audio, switch on your webcam, and ask your question.
मैडम मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
आ रही है, sir. Kindly proceed with your question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you just reduce the volume a little because there is a lot of disturbance? Sir, it needs to be reduced even more. Yes.
ये कहना चाह रहा था, मैंने कहा जो आपने आप लाए जाओ, कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आता।
So there is lot of background noise.
एक चीज और है कि मैंने मेल करी तो मेल का भी रिवर्ट नहीं आ रहा। उनके साथ मेल हो जाए, कोई बात हो जाए, और दूसरी बात सर, जो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, पहले भी शेयर होल्डर ने कहा है कि अगर हम जो शेयर होल्डर है थोड़ा जा सकेंगे आराम से, कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी हमें भी। बस यही थोड़ा सा क्वेश्चन था। उसके लिए क्या किया करेंगे आप?
Mr. Chanda, you were not audible. Would you like to send your question in writing so that we can respond to it?
सर आवाज आ रही है?
Mr. Chanda, there is a lot of background noise, so your question is not very clear.
You are now unmuted. मैडम आवाज आ रही है क्लियर?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. हाँ मैं मिस्टर चेयरमैन को ये कहना चाह रहा था, मैंने कहा जो भी आपने बीएससी की साइट पे नंबर्स दे रखे हैं तो वो ऐसे तो हो जो कोई उठा ले, जिस पे कांटेक्ट हो सके हमारे से। ना तो आपके सेक्रेटेरियल डिपार्टमेंट से, ना ही किसी डिपार्टमेंट में आपके कांटेक्ट हो पाता है। मैंने मेल करी, मेल का रिवर्स कोई नहीं आया मुझे, मतलब किसी भी तरह से कोई रिप्लाई कहीं से नहीं आ रहा, ना फोन से ना मेल से। और दूसरा जो मेरे फेलो शेयर होल्डर्स ने कहा है, मैं भी वही कहना चाहूंगा कि कुछ डिस्काउंट अगर आप हम शेयर होल्डर्स को ऑफर करेंगे तो कम से कम हम भी उसमें फ्रीक्वेंटली जा सकेंगे। नहीं तो हमें अभी थोड़ा सा दूर लगता है ये, अगर आप थोड़ा ऑफर करेंगे तो हमें खूब आसानी हो जाएगी थोड़ी सी जाने की। बाकी तो मोस्टली क्वेरीज जो आपने सॉल्व कर ही दी थी अपनी स्पीच में। बाकी ये सर के सेक्रेटेरियल डिपार्टमेंट को थोड़ा सा ठीक कीजिए, क्योंकि ना तो मेल आई और ना ही रिवर्स, ना ही कोई रिस्पॉन्स है कहीं से। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with this, we complete the questions from the registered speakers. Back to Chairman, sir. Sir, you are on mute. We request you to kindly unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you for all the questions and observations. May I now request the whole-time director and CEO to respond to the queries raised by the members. Rono.
Thank you. A lot of good questions, and it gives me great pleasure to address them one at a time. I think the first question was, what percentage of our bookings comes directly through our website? Ryanair, we know, is at a very high level of close to 90% of the bookings coming directly to the website. Do we have any ambitions of increasing our direct bookings to Ryanair levels? The answer is currently about 15%, slightly less than 15% of our bookings come directly through our website. Trying to expand that to Ryanair levels would require a large capex, both in terms of IT infrastructure as well as maintenance of that in terms of service. And we have to be aware that we have some very low-cost alternatives, fortunately, available to us in India. So while we very much nurture our 15% and we're trying to edge it up higher, we've looked at it a couple of times, and going whole scale into major investments to get to direct bookings does not make economic sense. The next question was on a similar speaker. When do we hope to return to pre-pandemic levels? That clearly is a very key question, and one that we also anticipate and ask ourselves every day. So given the uncertainty of the environment, it's a little dangerous to make forecasts, but I'll give you my best case guess, if you will. Currently, as you know, the ministry has allowed us 72% of pre-COVID capacity, but they are looking at reviewing that situation every 15 days. And the way the bookings are going, we're quite optimistic they will gradually take it up. So our best case scenario remains that domestic capacity will return to pre-COVID levels by December, January of the coming year. What about international? International is slower in terms of its growth, but it's happening. As you probably know, UAE has opened up. Bangladesh just started flights. Sri Lanka just started flights. Muscat and Oman are opening up in the middle of September. So we're seeing gradual movement there as well. All in all, we hope to be back internationally to pre-COVID levels by July. But again, I would caution you that these are all forecasts. These are all based on current COVID levels. If there's a third COVID, who knows? But this is the best case forecast that we have. An important question was asked by Mr. Yashpal Chopra, who said he had been very loyal to this airline, and we thank him for that. And his key question was, what are the positives that we see going forward? The single biggest positive that we see is that our customer franchise is growing stronger by the day. And our customer franchise is stronger because of our network expansion. Even so, this COVID, we've opened multiple new destinations. We were very nimble, if you will, when COVID hit, to move away from metro to metro cities where the corporate traffic was dropping fast. And we moved our capacity into tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And we saw great traction there, and which is why we expanded even more into the smaller cities. So our network expansion is a great positive, but probably even more important to that is the customer reaction to our quality airline. And as I said before, we wanted to emerge from this crisis stronger, and we were absolutely determined that our customer quality would be superb. And let me share with you a few metrics in that result. We are now number 3 in on-time performance in the world. Ahead of us is Japan Airlines and LATAM, and behind us are all big names like Lufthansa, Delta, British Airways, etc. So on-time performance is great. Let's talk of complaint ratios. Our complaint ratio is 0.1 per 10,000 passengers. The industry is 10 times that. 1 customer complaint per 10,000 passengers. Mishandled bags. We look at ourselves across the world, and the US data is readily available, and our mishandled bags are 1/4 of the US number. So the quality of the airline is great, thanks to our employees who are working very hard to make these numbers happen. And as a result, our customer franchise, both with the network and the customer service that we are providing, is strong and getting stronger. So I'd say that's the biggest positive that we can offer going forward. There was a question on a number of questions around employees. How are they affected by COVID, and how much sacrifice have they done, and what have we done in return for the employees? So let me speak to COVID first. I think the highest number of cases we saw per day were 2,200. Fortunately, that has now diminished rapidly. We went on an aggressive vaccination plan, which we paid for from the company. So today, 93% of our employees are vaccinated with at least 1 dose, and 32% are vaccinated with 2 doses. We also established healthcare facilities. You will remember a time when people throughout Delhi, Bangalore were panicking with lack of oxygen cylinders, lack of beds. We actually established healthcare facilities in both Bangalore and Delhi with about 24 beds in one, 8 beds in the other. Our employees went on a hyperdrive, locating cylinders, locating beds, and they were helping each other across the country in that regard. So I think we had a very vigorous response to the COVID. There was an allied question of, are the employees sacrificing enough? And were the layoffs or the pay cuts? So let me address both. In terms of a layoff, we had a 15% layoff about a year ago, which is unfortunate. We think of our employees as family members, and it's very, very painful for us to take these sort of actions. Along with that, we did a pay cut as well. And it was graduated across various levels, going from 47% down to 0 for baggage handlers and so forth. 47%, I've taken a 47% pay cut. Wolfgang Brockshire, who's our president, has taken a 42% pay cut. Our pilots have taken a 28 plus 10, so about 38% pay cut. So we've taken pretty large pay cuts across the company. There's a question on charter flights margin. Charter flight margins are actually very attractive. And again, I'm pleased to say that although we are a scheduled airline, we rely on 2-month planning, rostering, we have long lead times for scheduling. In COVID, we reverted ourselves very quickly and transformed ourselves into a chartered airline, where people working through the night, working with foreign embassies, trying to get slots, trying to get approvals and so forth. And our charter flights have been very attractive for us and one of the bright spots. Whistleblower policy, yes, we do have a very robust whistleblower policy. It reports to the audit committee at every meeting. It is led by our general counsel. So the whistleblower policy is very robust, and we follow up aggressively in every one of those. There was a question on the government. Is the government doing anything to help us? As you know, across the world, many countries have responded very aggressively in terms of giving bailouts and subsidies to the airlines. India, unfortunately, could not afford to do that. Having said that, we have a new, young, very, I would say, proactive civil aviation minister. We are meeting with him every 2 weeks, and I'm very encouraged by the leadership role he's playing, and we hope to make progress in terms of the government and industry working closer together. Cargo business. Cargo business, yes, we wholeheartedly agree. It is a very, very promising business. So as soon as COVID hit, we took 10 of our airplanes and converted 20 to cargo in cabin. The nets have to be placed. We have to get approval from the government for doing this. But 10 of our planes were converted to cargo in cabin. In addition, we are ordering 4 more freighters. These will be dedicated freighters, which will be coming starting next year. There was a question on Akasha. How do we expect to counter them? IndiGo is a very unique and well-positioned airline in a number of ways. It is clearly one of the lowest cost structures in the world. It's going to be very hard to beat that cost structure. And as you know, airlines being a commodity business, costs reign supreme. And as long as our cost structure remains lowest, I think we can withstand any threat. But it's not just a cost structure. Our service, as I've talked about in various ways, is really excellent. We are a world-class airline when it comes to service. So yes, we are low cost, but we are also world-class in terms of service. And I have to tell you, I think our general feeling is we want IndiGo to be a most well-loved airline in the world. And I think with our employees' help, we are slowly getting there. We also have a great network. We talked about our access and penetration into smaller cities. And remember, when we have so many destinations put together, and 6 metro sort of major cities, the amount of connecting traffic we generate, no one can come close to us. So IndiGo is going to be tough for any competitor to come and beat. At the end, there was another question on acquisitions. Why don't we acquire Jet Airways or some other airline? The fact is we have such a great business model. We don't want to dilute it or contaminate it with other business models which are not compatible to us. So we have a good thing going and we don't want to distract ourselves with acquisition. Light at the end of the tunnel? Yes. Everything is working great for us in terms of our employees, our customers, our network, our service level. All that needs to happen is COVID needs to go down and revenue needs to come up. And as you speak, that is happening. I think I've answered. Oh, sorry. One last question was on Vivad Se Vishwas. Yes, we have applied for it. And if you refer to note 31 of our financial statement, it gives that in more detail. I think those are all the questions. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Rono. I now request the Company Secretary to explain the procedure for e-voting at the AGM and the date of declaration of the combined results of remote e-voting and e-voting at the AGM. Sanjay.
Thank you, sir. Dear shareholders, in compliance with provisions of the Companies Act 2013 and the SEBI listing obligations and disclosure requirements regulation 2015, the company had provided a facility to its members to exercise their right to vote on all the resolutions which are set forth in the notice by remote e-voting. The remote e-voting period commenced on Friday, August 27, 2021 at 9 a.m. and concluded on Monday, August 30, 2021 at 5 p.m. The members who have not cast their votes electronically and who are participating in this AGM will have an opportunity to cast their votes now through the e-voting system InstaPoll, which is provided by our registrar, KFM Technology Private Limited. The members can click on the Vote tab on the video conference screen to avail this feature. We have appointed Ms. Amrita Nautiyal, practicing Company Secretary, who acts as the scrutinizer to supervise the e-voting process. The combined results of the remote e-voting and e-voting at the AGM will be announced within 48 hours from the conclusion of AGM, though we'll try to announce the result as soon as possible. The resolutions as set forth in the notice shall be deemed to be passed at the AGM today, subject to receipt of requisite number of votes. The results of voting will also be informed to the stock exchanges, that is National Stock Exchange and BSE, who shall display it on their websites, and the results will also be uploaded on the company's website. Thank you, and over to Mr. Chairman.
I hereby declare the meeting closed and request the members who are desirous of casting their votes to do so within the next 15 minutes. Thank you all for attending the 18th AGM. We hope that you take care of yourself and your families and remain safe, healthy, and happy. Thank you very much.
you.